time on Roadworthy Rescues, we take a Firebird from the tree row and then kind of make it a Trans Am, and then that happened. Well, a guy recently watched Smokey and the Bandit for the 93rd time and got inspired to build my own budget Burt Trans Am. So we need a 77 Trans Am T-top that's black. So we're here in Alabama where we found this not so 77 Trans Am. This one's blue and primer and a 79, not black. But it was a lot cheaper and it's something to work with. We're gonna try to transform this into something unique and similar and try to do it on a budget. But first, we got to get 150 miles back to my shop. This is the first time I'm seeing it in person, so just walk around it, see what we got. So this is a pretty unique color. I think it's Atlas blue or something like that. You don't see a lot of them. Front clip's been replaced or something like that, but I don't know. It looks to be fairly solid. We're missing some things. We do have some Black Bandit plastic pieces on here. It is a T-top, which is a winning formula for any sort of Burt tribute. Again, though, this is a 79, not a 77, but you can save a lot of money by getting the wrong year. Did have some pinstripage. We've got the typical speed holes. That one might be for drifting. It's a pretty good fist size, but the plastic almost covers it up. These are anniversary wheels. Them are pretty slick. And we got some Integrity tires. I don't know, they're round. Aha! Okay. We'll ignore all the rust in the deck lid. We got a lot of this plastic, and trim parts and plastic. Some assembly required, I guess. We got floppage. Does it not even have a, doesn't even have a latch. Woo! We got completage. Some sort of engine in the engine bay. There's all the ingredients for a successful air conditioning system. It's got a new fuel pump make it happener on it. That's pretty cool. I mean, I think it's all here. We might have a pretty good shot of this thing actually running. But before we dive into this, I gotta get inside this thing, see if we actually have a steering wheel and things needed to start the car. Yeah. Yeah. Smells like a wet shoebox full of alligator feet and red onion. It's not good. Whoa. Both seats are laid back in Tupac mode, and I think they're just broke that way. This one does already have a steering wheel. That's good. Shifter seems to shift things. Looks like we are gonna need all that plastic because there's none plastics in the car, pretty much whatsoever. Yeah, I mean, you get what you pay for. You could Flintstone the rear. Big old hole back here. That's nice. And a window crank. Well, I think a guy's gonna strip all this down, take a look at the fuel make it happen, or see what our mystery engine is. Then we can throw a lightning cube in here and just test all the electrical system, make sure the ignition works, the starter's actually hooked up and doing starter things and stuff like that. It looks like everything's pretty well plumbed in. The casting number down here on the block, 396021F. The interwebs tells us that that's a 455 engine from 68 to 72, and they ranged in a lot of horsepowers, but that's actually pretty unique and pretty cool because this thing should have a lot of torques. Why I got swapped in here, I have no idea, but that's great news actually. Put the sad cable on. Nothing sparkled yet. Fasten belts, brake light, and contact. Rotates. She's got a gallop in it though. Listen. One cylinder compression is not like the other. We can probably bring that around with a couple dozen burnouts. Let them rings reseat. None of the gauges work. Fuel gauge says 48 gallons past full. So that's what you want on a long road trip. Perfect. Well, now that we know the thing rotates, that's great news, but I'm gonna check all the fluids in this thing before we try to fire it up, just to make sure we got all the juices in it. Oh yeah, it's actually overfull. Not bad. We can run it on that for a little while anyway. It does have a bunch of gasoline in it, so we'll want to drop that eventually. Make sure we got something on the blood stick. Oh yeah. Two things. I need a sinus pill and it doesn't smell too bad. There's something in there so we won't burn the pump out anyway. So I'm gonna dump some Firemaker down the yap, some gasoline in it, to see if this thing at least makes some noise. Bring in the thunders. It fired. There it goes. Oil pressure is still nothing on the gauge, but I think the gauge is busted. It's running. Motor mounts are shot. It's been a long time since something just actually ran as advertised, I'll tell you that. It's got a little bit of a mist to it, but could be timing, could be sparkulators. Okay, we get it. I got stuff to do. All right, I'm just gonna shut it off because it definitely runs. Well, that's fantastic news. Now, I'm gonna drop the oil on this bad boy and change that out quick, I think. We could check the ice cube juice and the water boiler up front. It probably doesn't have brakes because the rears are just completely disconnected. We're actually at the top of like a mountain right now. And the very first thing we do when we take a left is drop like 74 million feet in elevation right into a small town four-way flashing red light. So I'd kind of like to have brakes for once. That'd be nice. So a guy slid his retinas under the front of the car here, and unfortunately the cross member has been completely ripped, split, cracked, broken. Thankfully someone stick welded it with their eyes closed. It seems to have repaired it. No, and there's still a crack above that. Meaning the lower control arm on the drinker side of this vehicle is about ready to tear off, and nothing is true, straight, or correct in any of the steering and/or alignment. But since it's a tribute replica Burt car, it means we can jump it now too. We don't have to feel bad about it. Nice. I'm gonna test the transmission, make sure we actually have gearage, and then I'll jam the old earth pounder on the brake pedal and see if it's actually gonna stop. All right, reverse. There it goes. Neutral, drive. Yep. Threw a little bit of timing in it. I could hear that it was lazy. So I used the ear meter there. Throw this air cleaner back on. And we got 150 miles back to Vice Grip Garage in the pole barn. Car runs halfway decent-ish. Put a little timing in it, dolled up the fuel pump area over there, threw a battery in it, changed the oil, threw some juice in the shift machine, and I'm not even gonna look at the rest. I'm gonna jump in and just hit the road and see what happens. Okay. Keep your foot hard on the pedal. Never mind the brakes. Whoa, whoa, whoa. Well, it's a start. I've never driven a Trans Am from the back seat before. It's a much different experience, for sure. Oh boy, these brakes need a lot of work. At least we're not going down 78,000 million feet. Well, the guy's posted up behind a parts store here. Pretty good spot, I gotta say. Now we're in the alley, it's not very good. I got some things I need to address before we hit the road. B, that tire, that needs fixed. Number 4, it's already overheating. And A, I'm not getting fuel from the fuel tank. It's gonna be a pickup screen that's plugged. The pickup screen or tube is just rotted or missing. I just ain't got the time right now. So I'm gonna do the right thing. Just swing a hose under here, throw it into the passenger seat, jam that into a fuel jug. Pick up an overflow for this. Might pick up a bottle of head gaskets in a can, just in case. Get some used rubber on it, and then we're gonna hit the road again. At least that's what I'm saying the plan is. Well, we've made it 2,912 feet. So our fuel delivery issue has escalated into a bad fuel pump. And it might be, that's all it was from the beginning, was the pump fading. So we might not have to put a tank and sending unit and stuff in it. We are gonna have to address fuel delivery to see if we can just get a cheapo clicky-clacky, put that in line for now, plug that in, it'll be way faster just to get us home, and then we'll figure out what to do. Oh, yeah. Runs like a kitten with 3 legs. Hey, we made it a mile. Having different fuel delivery issues. Now it's in the quadrabog. I'm wondering if the inlet filter is plugged, or we got a bunch of gunk in the needle and seat or something. So we're gonna delete on that, because if that's plugged, that could be our issue. What an amazing drive that was. We successfully made it into Tennessee right over the line, but it is mad at me. It's overheating like something else. It's puking everywhere. I've still got 50 some miles to go tonight. Hopefully I could patch this up well enough to make it. We'll see. Now this is a beautiful drive. Perfect for the old T-tops. We made a list, and as you can see, there is a lot to do. Now, we're not gonna go crazy here. We're just gonna kind of make a tribute car, but we're gonna keep the pennies in mind. So we're gonna add some horsepower by nitrous. That should do it, 100 horsepower shot. We're gonna do some tires and wheels. I think you guys are really gonna like those, but there's a whole lot of other things that we gotta do. Fuel tank, the fuel system, we gotta add brakes. We're gonna do exhaust. We gotta change the radiator out. We've got overheating issues. Of course, we're gonna sand it, we're gonna paint it. You guys are gonna have to stick around for that because it's something completely different. Of course, we're gonna put the iconic decals on as well. What makes this one a little bit more challenging is I'm actually kind of flying solo on this one. We've got, well, about 3 or 4 days to wrap all of this up, and you might see Volunteer Muffler and Performance working on the exhaust. Other than that, it's just me, so I'm gonna get started. So if you remember, a guy's having fuel delivery issues, not only with the pump issues up front, but we have something going on in the tank and the lines to the front. And that's really common when cars sit this long. The pickup screens get plugged, these get full of rust and rot. So we're just gonna replace the whole tank, the sending unit, and however much of the line we need to so we can get fuel up to the front. We're gonna need that consistent pressure if we're gonna be putting 100 shot of nitrous on this thing. So I've got the fuel tank, fuel sending unit, and fuel line in. I'm moving on to the cross member here. This front subframe is shot. It's not only twisted and bent, but as you can see, it was expertly repaired. We discovered that before we left Alabama. We noticed when we got back in the shop this morning that this weld had actually parted C's. It was about an 1/8 inch gap, and then we've got a fresh crack up here as well. So what I did was I lifted the car with the center point right here, let the weight of the A-arms, the springs, and the tires and wheels essentially kind of sag, and it pulled this together. Now I've got the job of trying to get all of that snot weld off of there, clean it up, and then I'm gonna put new snot welds back in, but maybe this time both sides will touch. You're about 40 seconds from getting cut. And there is how we're gonna add horsepower. We've got a fuel solenoid up here. We've got a nitrous solenoid back here. Out with the Quadrajet, in with this Brawler Street Series. This is a 650 CFM vacuum secondaries electric choke unit. And this is a power shot system by NOS. So basically, we're gonna press a button. This comes preset at 125 horsepower shot. It's a lot of nitrous for this engine, but it's what we got, and it's gonna be pretty fun. I've just gotta tie the fuel in here. We need to run the nitrous oxide line back to the trunk. We're gonna mount the tank back there. We've already got that full. There's brackets that come in the kit and everything like that. And then we've just gotta wire in these solenoids, so they're both gonna fire off at the same time when I hit that blue button. We got the carburetor on, we've got the nitrous system installed, all of that's plumbed, ready to go. We stripped the interior and we found the source of the ants. We're talking thousands of mutant, they were huge, we'll just say that. Quite a bit done, but there's still a lot of daunting tasks to go. That's gonna do it for tonight. We'll see you in the morning. Yesterday we had a pretty productive day. We've got a cooling system in, an entire fuel system, carburetor, nitrous system, gutted the interior, cleaned the trunk out, but there's still a tremendous amount of work to do. So I talked Chad into helping out from Volunteer Muffler and Performance, and you've got quite a bit of work to do. What are your challenges on this thing?
One of the main challenges is that the manifold is right on top of the frame. So one of the bolts, you can barely get to it. The gas line's right next to it. It's gobbled up.
Great. So I'm gonna let him tackle all that. I've been tootling away on brakes and some other stuff today. I'm gonna stay busy while he's fighting with the exhaust. We've got a lot of work to do, so let's get on it. It's actually really fun and incredible to watch Chad work. We always joke that he uses compasses and measuring sticks and math because it always comes out precise, but he actually does it from just muscle memory and experience. And he just grabs a stick and starts bending it, and it fits amazing. Chad's finishing up the exhaust right now, and since we're going to be throwing nitrous at this thing, it'd probably be a good idea to also be able to stop it. So I'm going to go ahead and toss in all new brake hardware and doodads and whatchamacallits and maybe make them better. So you recognize these are the tires and wheels that came on the car. Pretty cool tire, actually. We're gonna keep them around the shop for something, but we wanted to spice up the look on this, and the budget Burt has to have a snowflake, but instead of going with a 15, we're going with this beautiful 17x9 gold snowflake, and we put 275 4017 tires on here. We're gonna have all of the traction and all of the handling. Plus, Jessica helped us out. We painted up the lettering on this thing. You gotta have white letters. These are gonna look amazing on a car. So we just test fit the tires and wheels we're going with on the rig, and we got to looking, it's sitting a little high right now. There's a big gap between the top of the tire and the fender well. This has the leaf springs in the back. So we're gonna do an old school trick, heat that leaf spring up, the top pack, I guess, and it's gonna bend on its own and essentially lower the car. Basically, it's the wrong way to do it. We're gonna fire this thing up because we wanna hear it now. We put some aggressive sounding mufflers on there because we wanna hear this thing just screaming. Hopefully it fires up. I haven't even touched the fuel make it happener. We're just gonna hope that out of the box it's ready to rock. There we go. Got a fuel leak. Whoa, that's called needle sticking. I can fix that with a special carburetor tool. Here we go again. Bring in the thunder. She's gonna be flooded like something fierce. Yeah. Good job, Chad. So the interior of the budget Burt is obviously in very rough condition. We've got speed holes and ankle vents and rust and ant colonies and things we still do not know what they are in here. So we're gonna spruce it up a little bit by at least putting some seats in and hopefully fastening with more than one bolt. Right now I'm just making a template out of cardboard so I can transfer this to the floor, figure out how to get this in there. This is a universal slider set that is not universal. That's great. And every one of these studs is at a different elevation and angle, so it should be really fun. I've got the fuel make it happener dialed in, adjusted the floats, the idle mixture, everything like that. We tested our fans. Those are turning on as they should. We've burped the system for the air. I've pulled the timing back to 30 degrees for preparation of our 125 horsepower nitro shot. Yeah, that's gonna get interesting. And look, some sort of interior. It's pretty incredible what some spray paint, cheap carpet kit, and some seats will do, plus this thing here. That leaves tomorrow, the final day, to get this thing sanded down and do, well, I'm just gonna call it a color change, not a paint job, because we're not doing any body work, thank goodness. Day 4 with the Budget Bandit is here. We found this car down in Alabama just 4 days ago, and it wasn't running. It had been off the road for 8 to 9 years. Now it runs, it drives, it's got upgrades, it has interior. Everything is pretty well fixed on it to make it roadworthy, but we have one big issue left to address. It's blue and primer and rust. We're gonna make this thing one solid color. We're going black, but I have a trick up my sleeve with the color black. And we're gonna do decals on this thing as well. But we're not doing a perfect paint job. This thing would need a full rotisserie to do a nice restoration. And there's nothing wrong with that. It's just if we did that, we wouldn't use it. And our goal is to thrash this car just like you saw in Smokey and the Bandit, maybe even a little bit more. We're not gonna do all the body work. We're just gonna scuff it down, go around the rust holes, try to knock off the dirt and mud, throw some black on this, throw some decals on this so we can go and enjoy the car. Sanding into this car, we can kind of learn a little bit more about the history. Now, we already know it's wrecked because the front clip was a complete different color. The subframe was bent and literally tore. Also, the steering wheel was bent forward. So this was in, you know, it jumped a river already, basically. But as we started sanding into this, we're starting to see the original blue. So it's been painted twice. We could see it around the locks and the handles. And also up here on the roof, we could see the original pinstripe, which is accurate, and then a secondary pinstripe when it was painted the second time, which is not accurate. And then up here, we could see a whole bunch of Bondo. So that tells you when this was in that collision, it jammed everything into the door, and they just pulled this door out, and I could see actually where they used a machine where they basically weld the nail on and pull the metal out, and then filled all that in with primer, and then just replaced the front clip. So on this side, we can see here where the striker plate goes. It was literally ripped out of the original body. So I'm not sure if the door was just ripped off, or they had to pry it open or jar it open or rip it open. But they just put this big plate in here crudely and kind of welded that in place and then put the striker back in. So This car has seen some things, so you don't have to feel bad when I'm out there thrashing on this thing. It's pretty shot. Well, 397 pieces of sandpaper, 1 broken DA, and 4 cans of paint stripper. It's ready for body work, which we're not doing, thankfully. We're gonna roll it outside into our professional bake and paint booth and lay down some paint. And of course, by professional paint booth, I mean this pop-up stick garage thing. That'll work just fine. Gonna jam a fan on one side, one on the other here, and just start fogging this thing down. But instead of doing a gloss black, we're wanting to hide all of the pinholes and rust and rot and dents and dings and Bondo and bent stuff. And I've always wanted to do a satin black with shiny decals, and that's exactly what we're gonna do. This thing is gonna look awesome. We're gonna do 4 coats, satin black. As soon as that dries, fresh decals. Even though this isn't a real paint job, it's nice to go through the steps and kind of perform that practice or that muscle memory. So we've washed this down with soap and water. After we taped it, we went ahead and wiped it down again with the paint prep, or you can use Earth Ghost Juice or whatever you want to use after that. At this point, we're just going to use a cheap $35 HVLP gun. We've got some off-brand paint. We have to hurry. We're outdoors. A thunderstorm is knocking on our doors, and the humidity is going to get something fierce. We're going to start with the bare metal. I want to build that up since there's so many different layers of paint and primer on here. We're going to do the bare metal first. Then we'll come over and lay 2 to 3 medium coats and then 1 heavy coat, hopefully. Well, with a little bit of elbow grease and time, the Budget Bandit is all black. This should dry to a nice satin or matte finish here overnight. Then we'll see how this thing performs to the legendary Bandit. We're gonna be sliding this around, and I guarantee you I'm gonna use all of that nitrous. We'll see you tomorrow. It's the final day for our Budget Bandit build, and look, it's out of the paint booth, and it's finally one color. It actually turned out pretty good for just spraying it outside in a little tent thing. We got it rolled in here because we got some final details to wrap up. Speaking of wrap GFX is here. They have a full decal kit. They're gonna put as much on as they can that time allows. I got headlights, taillights to put back in, a tachometer, our nitrous switches, and I gotta do something with the hood other than a rope and some duct tape, so I'm thinking the classic hood pins, and then the crowning jewel is going to be our 17x9 gold snowflakes. Wait until you see that. It's going to once again transform the car. I gotta get after it. We've got a little bit of time left.
We're gonna start at the highest point. It's gonna stick there, and then we're gonna go to the right and then to the left. And it should be pretty simple, except for like these divots in here. We're gonna probably have to heat them up and push them in there as much as possible, but there shouldn't be any wrinkles as we go on. It should be good.
So we're getting ready to put the switches in for the nitrous system here. Luckily, the Trans Am steering wheels come with multiple nitrous provisions here, and scramble buttons and everything else, trans brake, whatever you want. So I threw a button in over here. Once we hit that, we're gonna have our nitrous, but we need to put an arm button in here. So this will turn the system off and on. So that way when we pull into Walmart, we don't accidentally hit our nitrous trying to back into our parking spot way up front, you know, because of course, you're always gonna have a full bottle of nitrous ready to go. Well, the fellers here at Wrap GFX have finished up the graphics, and this is actually period correct, and it absolutely changed the car. You guys did great work.
Thank you.
Appreciate it. Thank you very much.
No problem.
First Firebird?
Yeah, first Firebird.
All right. Was it difficult or?
Not too bad, no.
Cool. Awesome.
Yeah.
Well, I'm going to get this thing up in the air and put on the crown jewel, tires and wheels. That's fine, we'll ignore that. Look how good the tire looks on the wheel. Well, the guys got the Trans Am back on the road for the first time since we pulled her into the barn there. What a world of difference, just the interior alone. And it's just carpet, and we spray painted the back seat, put some universal low buckets in, painted the center console, and it feels comfortable. And we didn't fix any of the ball joints or tie rods or any of that, but these 275 4017s seem to have kind of absorbed the shaking and miscellaneous steering. Still smokes these 275s. That's pretty neat. Well, in just 5 days, a guy took this car from a tree row to a Trans Am. We found it sitting in a backyard in Alabama, and the feller said it had been off the road for 8 to 9 years approximately. Started with the drivetrain here. We've got a 1968 Oldsmobile 455. Unknown goodness there, but we just tuned it up, threw some sparklators in it, adjusted the timing, put a Brawler carburetor on there with a nitrous plate. Went ahead and threw a new fuel pump on it, fuel lines, fuel tank, and fuel sending unit, and that seemed to resolve our fuel issues. The transmission's really soft, so I did absolutely nothing there, but instead I fixed the brakes for once. I think that's actually a first. It stops great. On the inside here, we just rattle canned the rear seat, put some universal low back buckets in. Those look fantastic. A carpet kit, and also spray painted the center console and put some buttons and doodads on here and there. And of course, we had to have that CB radio. On the exterior of the Trans Am here, we had to start with the altitude adjustment. Fixed that up with the gas axe, lowered her down. It actually settled a little bit more than we bargained for, but it ended up looking fantastic with these 17x9 snowflakes. The paint, believe it or not, is just $100 off-brand satin hot rod kind of paint, and then we threw the proper decals on that. Some new headlights, a little bit of elbow grease, and this thing looks absolutely fantastic. Now, the only thing I have left to do is go see if this thing actually lives up to the real Bandit, and will this handle 125 shot of nitrous? Probably not. Let's go find out. All right, see what this bird's got. Oh, yes! Yes, it took it. It's still running. That means we got to do it more, I think, right? I wanted 100 shot, but we got 125, and it was worth it. Holy cow! Allegedly going very fast. But there you go, science. Oldsmobile 455 will in fact take 125 shot of nitrous, bone stock with exhaust, and a Holley carburetor. That's pretty awesome. What a good car. That's going to do it for this episode of Roadworthy Rescues, but stay tuned because there's plenty more cars to save.